The morning they bulldozed my great-grandfather's bridge, I didn't just feel angry, I felt like something inside me broke clean in half. I was done with the polite emails, done with certified mail and HOA threats, done believing the system would do right by us if we just played by the rules. That bridge wasn't just stone and mortar, it was our family's history sitting right there over Lake Norwood, tying our old cabin to the world. When they tore it down, didn't say a word, didn't even knock. I made up my mind right then if they were coming for my family's story, then I was about to rewrite theirs. You want a real mess? I'd give them a mess. I'd drain the whole lake their $4 million resort depended on just to prove a point. It started out like any other Tuesday sky, just barely turning gray. Lake shrouded in that soft mist. You only get an early summer loons calling out over the water, my mug of coffee almost too hot to hold. I was standing at the edge of the dock, letting the cold seep into my bones and trying to remember why I loved this place so much. Then I heard it. The rumble. You know what I mean? That deep diesel growl, heavy as a nightmare coming through the fog. Out of nowhere, a bright yellow bulldozer rolled down toward the bridge like it was a tank rolling into enemy territory. 2 more trucks in tow, a bunch of guys in vests and hard hats marching around like they owned the world. I dropped my mug and actually ran, shouting as loud as I could, but it didn't matter. They had the paperwork, they had the radios, and worst of all, they had Barbara Langston, arms crossed, white heels, sinking into the gravel, smiling like she was doing the Lord's work. Now, Barbara wasn't even from here. She'd blown in from Scottsdale, bought up the old Miller house on the point, and in less than a year had managed to install herself as president of the Oak Ridge Shores HOA. She was the sort who called the police on kids selling lemonade, the sort who treated the rule book like a Bible wielding fines like a sword. "You can't do this," I yelled, but she didn't flinch. Didn't even look at me. "We already did," she said, cool as you please. And what she didn't know, what nobody on that board seemed to care about, was that the bridge they were destroying wasn't just some old relic. My great-grandfather Walter built it by hand, stone by stone, back in 1924, when Oak Ridge wasn't even a word, when the only thing out here was forest and water and grit. In our attic, sealed in a fireproof box, we still had the original deed, the county maps, and this is the kicker. A water rights agreement signed in 1923 giving Walter and all his heirs perpetual authority over the flow of Lake Norwood, which meant legally that I, standing there with mud on my jeans and coffee on my shirt, had more say over the lake than the HOA ever would. For 2 days, I just seethed, didn't sleep, didn't eat, just paced and replayed it all in my head. Then I did what any engineer with a chip on his shoulder would do. I dug in, called my old professor at Texas. A&M guy knows more about historical water law than half the lawyers in the state. Sent everything to my cousin's wife at the Water Authority, brought in a local surveyor, pored over every document until my eyes burned. Turns out the secondary spillway under that bridge, the one nobody'd touched in 50 years, was still operational. And according to those dusty old papers, it was mine. But while I was busy with the past, Barbara was busy turning the screws. Next thing I know, I'm getting fined for having a fishing net on my own dock mailbox, the wrong color shed, apparently visible from the road. Her brother-in-law's private security company started showing up guys with mirrored sunglasses and clipboards snapping pictures of my gutters like they were FBI. You ever feel like you're living in a movie? That was me right then. So I started keeping records, every visit, every notice, every creepy drive-by, filed complaints with the state about their unlicensed security patrols, pulled HOA financials, public records by the way, and started noticing little things, like $8,000 to Langston Consulting, or $5 and $500 to Norwood Maintenance Solutions, which just so happened to be run by Barbara's nephew. Nepotism, fraud, you name it, it was all right there hiding in plain sight. But I wasn't just going to out her, I wanted the whole board to sweat. See, across the lake was a new resort Barbara loved to brag about. Cost the HOA $4 million to help develop, funded by a big commercial loan. I got my hands on their environmental impact report. Long story, don't ask. And deep in the legalese, I found the magic line: if the lake dropped more than 18 inches below full for more than 72 hours, the bank could call the loan due immediately. You hear that one twist of a valve and I could blow up their whole house of cards. So I walked into the next board meeting, calm as you please, carrying a banker's box stuffed with everything: water rights maps, Old photos, checks, emails, you name it. I'm not here to argue, I said. I'm here to offer you a choice. Barbara laughed. You're bluffing, she said. No, I told her I'm draining the lake. She turned red as a stop sign. That's terrorism. I shook my head. No, Barbara, that's called maintenance. The rest of the board just stared at their shoes except for one guy who just abstained and tried not to look at anyone. Barbara made a big scene, stood up, pointed, said, "Let it be known, Mr. Dean is a danger to this community." But that night I walked out to the old spillway, opened the access panel and turned the valve, once, twice, 3 times. Within 6 hours, the lake dropped 11 inches. By lunch the next day, the resort's docks were sitting in mud, dead fish. Everywhere, tourists online, posting photos, griping about ruined vacations. 3 days in the bank pulled out. Barbara called an emergency meeting. Now it was chaos. Half the neighborhood wanted her gone, the other half wanted my head. And right in the middle, the county sheriff showed up, said they'd had an anonymous tip I was tampering with public infrastructure. I handed him the paperwork, the original deed, the water agreement. He looked it over, shook his head and said, "This is above my pay grade." Yeah, that happened. Barbara, though, she wasn't done. She went on the local news, called me an extremist, said I was threatening kids, ruining property values. But the more she talked, the more people started digging. Turns out her husband's company had gotten 30 grand in payments. Nobody approved. Her cousin got contracts with no bids, and her own backyard guest house was 4 feet into a protected wetland. 2 weeks later, the county slapped her with a restraining order, misuse of funds, abuse of authority, permit violations. The board booted her. She packed up and left town before sunrise. You'd think it'd end there, but no. Mrs. Nora Caldwell, 82, been here since 67, took over as president. First thing she did was ask me to help draft new bylaws, ones that actually respected what made this place special. We rebuilt the bridge, named it Walters Crossing, got it registered as a historic site. 3 months later, the resort reopened, new owners, this time negotiating with me. We cut a deal I'd manage water levels in exchange for permanent preservation rights. Even set up a scholarship in Walter's name for local students, kids who wanted to study civil engineering, keep lakes healthy. Funny how life swings around. Now every July we host Bridge Day Live, music, catfish fry, kids cannonballing off the same dock Barbara once tried to find me for. And sometimes I just stand there, hand on the new limestone rail, listening to the water rush by, steady, calm, strong. You know, water doesn't care about bylaws or power trips. It just follows gravity. It follows design. And it remembers who built it. So if anyone ever tries to bulldoze your family's legacy, don't just yell, don't just beg. Learn the rules. Know your rights. And if they back you into a corner, let the water do the talking. Now tell me, what would you have done if someone tore down what your family built with their own hands? Would you fight or just walk away? Drop your thoughts down below. I want to hear your story. And if you're living your own HOA nightmare, stick around. Next time I'll tell you how a rancher used her mineral rights to shut down a billionaire's paving scheme. It only gets wilder from here.